Hi, I'm Amy MUIR of MUIR Architecture.
And I'm Jason Michael, landscape architecture and design.
The memorial, an embedded condition within an existing context, a significant site bookending a particular time, a particular place. Adjacency, the Commonwealth, the Fitzroy Gardens, firm, defiant, present, silent. Purple planting is employed as a signifier of the memorial's cause. This is not simply a landscape intervention, this is a formal and political intervention. Family violence is not concluded, acknowledgement of the immeasurable, no names but individual memories, resilient, silent.
So what we see when we look at the site, St Andrew's Place, located to the east of the Hoddle Grid, next image. It's adjacent to the Parliamentary Precinct and the Commonwealth Admin Building, which was when the federal government was up in the Gardens, and obviously adjacent to Fitzroy Gardens. It's a strange triangular site, in many ways kind of vestige, a leftover site, and in also some ways part of a much wider typology of these strange and leftover sites that happen at the inflection of the Hoddle Grid to the Carlton Grid.
Treasury Place, so the formal languages of place are firm and robust. And we've got Yunkin Freeman on the left, and then we've got John James Clark on the right. And just in elevation, so this is the view from Fitzroy Gardens, Treasury Gardens. We've got 1862, 1969, 1912, which is the Commonwealth Building, and then we're adjacent to that. And then Fitzroy Gardens being the first thing to arrive, being 1848. And then we use collage as a way of understanding the context, understanding the formal conditions, and how these might start to be smudged into place and adopted in some capacity.
So the things that we noticed about this St Andrew's Place site are the things that have framed our design response. The first thing we noticed was this 4 metre, next slide, 4 metre grade change across the site from north to south. It's not a flat area, it's quite a pronounced topography. Difficult to occupy. We wondered whether a piece of steel might actually cut the land and force a rupture or a fold in the land that made a place to occupy. We also noticed the Commonwealth Building, which is a difficult presence for some given the focus or the topic of the memorial, and wondered whether, again, steel might be used to direct viewers away from that building toward the east, toward the gardens. We also noticed this amazing elm tree and wondered whether there could be a kind of figure of purple planting or planting that sat underneath it to reinforce it, to actually sort of anchor the memorial to the tree, and whether a space might be carved out of that figure that again focused people's views towards Fitzroy Garden to the east. So all those things came out of quite specific observations about the site.
And so in terms of the plan, the geometry of the arced path pulls through the site procession, the congregation space, the body orientated towards the borrowed landscape of Fitzroy Gardens, back turned towards Commonwealth, cocooned by landscape. The elevated platform views beyond, the smoking vessel hugged by the memorial wall. And in section, cutting, carved and held by the hip height steel wall, scale, safety. The seat to the upper end of the site on the right-hand side of the page is a space for retreat.
So the way that the steel cuts the ground makes spaces for three modes of occupation. One is how we imagine it working almost from a daily point of view, where small groups come to the memorial, they're enclosed, enveloped by this sense of landscape and have the opportunity to reflect with a long view to the gardens. The next mode up is where you might have an observation by a small group or a family where they occupy this space of congregation and then also begin to occupy the levelled fold in the turf. And then finally, a much larger observation or vigil where speakers or people who can address a crowd are in this lower room, and a much bigger crowd uses the top of the fold as a kind of amphitheatre with an elevated view to the gardens. So it works in all those three modes. I did mention purple planting, or we mentioned purple planting. Purple is the colour of the Purple Ribbon Movement, which is for the eradication of family violence and violence against women. We wanted to use this sense of purple as an ever-present, I suppose, an irritation in the city. Planting has been used and curated to ensure that at any particular point in the time in the calendar and the seasons, there is purple on the site. So it's never changing, but also ever changing because it's responding to the seasons.
So making and constructing. The memorial wall is formed by a smudging of the formal context that we referred to in those collages, receding into the land, its volume unable to be perceived. This is an immeasurable condition, a memorial in motion, supporting the land above, strong, resilient. And the geometry of the smoking vessel born from the geometry of the memorial wall. And the steel wall, well, we are often asked by stakeholders during the design process, what is the memorial and what defines it? And the wall and the memorial is the memorial, and it's holding and it's defining the garden that cocoons the space. And it's made of steel.
One minute 45 seconds remaining. This is an image of the memorial under construction. Here you see a series of drilled piers that hold the steel and the concrete deck above the ground in a way that doesn't disturb the tree protection zone of the large elm. So this is a perched structure that tiptoes on the ground. It doesn't embed itself. Structurally, it doesn't. The perception of it is that it is sort of embedded. Next image then shows the steel sitting on those piers and essentially allowing the ground to be porous and to oxygen to get to the soil of the roots of the elm tree underneath. And here, the back end of the memorial wall before it's backfilled and turfed as part of that folded turf plan.
And so one of the other things with the steel was really sort of understanding how we could use this and craft it. And we were keen for the wall to be something that you touched and that you engaged with, and you know, the idea of the hand running along the edge. And this top edge of the steel is 12mm plate, and the bull nose has been ground back by the steel fabricators. Ooh. Country, so a smoking ceremony was held prior to construction commencing, and that these ashes were then embedded into the concrete pavers. The law of the land is to keep people safe. And if we've got time, this is the inscription that's on the memorial.